Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. How is everyone doing out there in the world this week? Maybe we can gloss over for once. Maybe we can gloss over the political situation. I don't have to sit here and say something despairing and then try to follow it up with a cynical joke. Maybe we can just talk about, for a second, the frighteningly mediocre shakshuka I made for dinner that was terribly unsatisfying, even though it was filling. What's that? You'd rather hear me say something about the collapse of the Imperial American system? Nope, you want me to go back to the shakshuka. All right. Potatoes, carrots, a terrible harissa paste. There was some other stuff, peppers in there. Anyway. Well, the shakshuka may have been mediocre, but today's episode is anything but. It is fantastic because today I'm talking to the wonderful John McEntire. And if you don't know who John is, well, buddy, you are in for a treat. But let me tell you a little bit about him before we get into the interview. Originally from Portland, Oregon, musician and producer John McEntire started playing drums as a preteen and eventually went to school at the Oberlin Conservatory to study music. At Oberlin, John started playing in David Grubb's post-Squirrel Bait band Bastro. The group then moved to Chicago, and Bastro morphed into the first incarnation of Gastro del Sol. After their debut album, The Serpentine Similar, was released in 1993, John left to co-found Tortoise, who he's played with ever since. John also performs in The Sea and Cake and Red Crayola. As a producer and engineer, has worked with everyone from Stereolab to Broken Social Scene to Yo La Tango. And of course, this is just scraping the surface of John's accomplishments. Most recently, Tortoise released their 8th album, Touch, through International Anthem and None Such Records. And folks, like everything else they've done, it's wonderful. This is very exciting for me. I have been listening to John's music in some form, whether Tortoise, whether Sea and Cake, Gastro del Sol. Let's not even add in the musicians he's worked with as a producer and engineer, just the bands he plays in or has played in. I've been listening to his music since I was in college. I remember my roommate and friend Luke playing me Millions Now Living Will Never Die and just being like, oh, you can do this with music. Interesting. And I am happy to report that John is as cool as you might think he would be. We get into lots of stuff in this episode. Growing up in Portland, we talk dads and emotions and doing the work creatively. Lots of other stuff. This is a real pleasure, and I hope you enjoy our talk. Before we get there, just very quickly, I want to highlight some upcoming episodes of the show. A lot of musicians coming up. Talk to Doug Gillard from Guided by Voices and, of course, his own work and lots of other stuff. Felicia Douglas from Dirty Projectors and many other projects, including the wonderful Ava Luna. John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. That was a great talk. And I just talked to Josh Margolin, who was the writer and director of one of my favorite films of 2024, Thelma. That was very cool, so stay tuned for those. But for now, let's talk to John. There was not a lot I could find out about your background online. I found out year of birth, perhaps city of birth, although Wikipedia's, as I've found out in the last 5 years, maybe not as accurate as I'd want it to be. So, 1970 Portland.
Correct.
Are those things true?
Those things are true. I have noticed that my Wikipedia page has some citations on it, some flags. So I'm trying to figure out what that's all about. But those things are true.
Are they? Hold on. The stuff that's flagged, is it flagged because it's false or because it goes to like some like weird zine?
I don't even know because it doesn't specify what the issues are.
Did you grow up in Portland or were you just born there?
Well, I was born in the city proper, and I grew up in a near suburb.
I don't know much about, I don't know anything about Portland now, really, besides like the stereotype stuff you hear about it Or like,
Oh, all the riots?
well, I was going to say donuts, things like that. Like fancy, weird donuts, somewhat left-leaning things, but also then like weird right-wing groups that invade the city every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a really volatile mix of ideologies here.
Oh, so you live in Portland now still?
I'm just outside. I'm like 20 minutes from downtown.
I mean, I don't talk to a lot of people necessarily who are back where they grew up, unless it's a large city like Portland. So
yeah,
what's changed in the intervening years?
Not a ton.
Really?
Oddly. Yeah. It's just gotten a little like funkier, I guess. I think people are more dug into whatever they believe in. Like the cool people are like cooler and weirder and more queer and everything, and the right wing people are just like fucking diehard MAGA.
Cool.
And it's like kind of down where I live. Like I'm like due south of the city in a little town called Gladstone. It's like it's a little oasis where we live, but like surrounding us is just like, whoa. Okay. deep red. Yeah.
But it was like, because you said the only thing that's happened is like people's ideologies have deepened. So it was like that when you were growing up.
Yes, but to a lesser extent. Yeah. You could see the fissure, but it wasn't as pronounced.
Were you clued into that when you were a kid?
I was super apolitical when I was young. Yeah. But I could kind of see what was going on. I'm oddly enough, like my mother and father are of very different political affiliations. So that was always fun. Their votes would cancel each other out. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, now I know people who the couple is made up of, let's say, someone who's very right-wing and someone who is liberal. I don't think you get someone who's right-wing and someone who is reading Gramsci or whatever, right? But you liberal and right-wing, and I'm not sure how they make it work now, but maybe it seemed in the 60s, 70s, it was a little more manageable.
The 70s, it was kind of okay. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. Now, absolutely not. Do you remember that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry, his wife, grants him a free sexual encounter with someone? Do you remember this episode?
I've seen them all.
Oh.
Tell me more, because I'm sure.
Okay. So anyway, Larry wants to hook up with this woman, and he goes to her office, and she has a portrait of George Bush on the wall.
Yep.
And he's like, nope, this is over.
Yeah, well, I think, look, I don't know. I was not alive in the 70s, so I don't know what it was like then necessarily, except outside of the way it's been handed to me through media. But like... Yeah. It seems that the levers of power and the violence and viciousness was a little more hidden in terms of like the way that the ruling class acted. And it was just like, it seemed like it was a little more like, well, like once Vietnam was over, then it was like everything was kind of like, well, we're back to normal now, even though there was insane violence still going on.
Sure. Yeah. I don't have a lot of memories. I mean, I do kind of remember like the energy crisis and the gas lines and all that stuff, and everybody hated Jimmy Carter, that's for sure. But but I thought he was amazing. Even as a child, I was like, this guy's got a good soul, and he's like trying to help people. he's actually a Christian, even though I don't believe in that at all. But like, yeah. It was definitely a weird time.
Yeah, but you could kind of see that in people at that age. Like you were clued into like outside of what was told to you. You were on your own being like, "Oh, that seems like a good person," or "This seems like
I think so." Yeah. And even as a child, I pretty much disagreed with my father about everything, and I could definitely see like what the things that he would gravitate towards were like, oh, that's not, no, don't do that.
Was that the only source of tension between you and your dad? I asked that because like, I get along with my dad. I've always gotten along and quote unquote, gotten along with my dad. I don't think my dad ever got me. I don't think he got me. I don't think he gets me now, but it's still very loving and all that kind of stuff. But like, there's tension in the margin. There's definitely he's pretty liberal. I've become very left at this point, and so there's tensions there. Was that the only thing where you guys disagreed?
I think we disagreed on just about everything. Once he figured out that I wasn't going to be a carbon copy of him, like that was the end of it. Like we were never very close. And then when my parents split up, that was just like, I'd see him like maybe once every 2 years or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, how old were you when that happened?
Probably 14 or 15, I guess.
Oh,
right when I was getting into punk rock.
Was the once every 2 years your decision, or was that just him?
I think it was like a mutual decision. We would just be like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, you want to hang out? Okay. All right, cool. See you in 2 years.
Was that bad? Like sometimes, the absence of a parent, you're going to be like, oh, I actually missed this person in my life. I missed maybe making a reconciliation, whatever that. And other times it's like, no, it was kind of toxic. I'm glad that there was this rift.
It was preferential for sure. Like it was time for him to do his thing and for my mom and my sister and I to do our thing. Yeah.
And your thing was going to see Black Flag whenever they pass by.
I never saw. I did see Black Flag. I saw them on the. Do you know that live record? Who's got the 10.5? They recorded that show in Portland at what is now called the Roseland Ballroom, and I was at that show. That was the only time I saw Black Flag.
But you were right there you were of the age when hardcore was really coming into ascendancy.
I mean, I was slightly behind, because I didn't see there was great stuff happening in Portland, 85 to 87, which is when I was in the hardcore scene. But I missed, I never saw the Wipers, unfortunately, because that was just a little bit before my time. And I didn't see, the Neo Boys or any of the other, super cool Portland bands. But it was really good here. I mean, Poison Idea was, absolutely amazing.
How did you start getting clued into that?
I'm not sure. I mean, my evolution was, I think, similar to most kids of my age. I was into, 70s rock, hard rock, whatever was on the radio, and then that kind of morphed into metal. So it was, I bought the first Metallica record when it came out, stuff and Slayer and all that stuff. And then there was that sort of natural evolution from that into hardcore, just kind of finding out what was on the edge of the metal scene was a lot cooler, right? Mm. And that was the entree into for instance, Discharge is sort of a crossover metal hardcore band, and that was super appealing. And Poison Idea were totally in that realm too. Or they were moving more into the metal realm at that point. So yeah, it was pretty natural.
But
evolution there.
There's a scene there in Portland. Do you see posters at the record shop and be like, oh, I should go to see this. Hey, I guess this is music I like. I guess I'm curious, how does someone, because this is pre-internet. I also existed pre-internet as a teenager for a couple years. And I'm just I was like, oh, how did I end up going to weird hardcore shows at a VFW where I'm going through 7 inches and I'm see swastikas. I'm like, should I be here? What's going on?
Definitely the record store was the nucleus of things. And then just word of mouth and seeing, it seems so crazy now to see flyers on street poles and stuff, which is what we did, and somehow it worked and everybody kind of knew what was going on. And it was just sort of a collective mind about where to be and when. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, when I first started at UCB and my writing partner and I, we had a show there. I remember handing out postcards, walking around New York, handing out postcards still.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And that was that had to be 2011, somewhere around there. 20. And then all of all that ended for a long time. And then I live in Los Angeles now. And just recently I've seen people start to put up posters on telephone poles.
Yeah. I haven't seen too much of that here, but yeah, that's good. That's kind of the way it should be, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I hate saying like, what is Gen Alpha or Gen Z doing? But I do think there is a response to just how heavily surveilled the internet is at this moment and how shitified everything is, where they're reacting to that and being like, maybe there's a better way that's less tech heavy to get the word out about things.
Agreed. I mean, I just read this article about how like younger people are switching back to flip phones and like like massively downsizing their access to information, which is pretty cool if you ask me.
Well, it is, because I think about it a lot. I'm just like, I don't need to know every vicissitude of the evil that's going on. I know I don't stay ignorant, but like I don't have to know about every moment of bombing that the U.S. is doing.
I know. Yeah.
Like, give me the headline every day about it, but I don't have to know. I know it's evil. I already know that stuff. Like, it doesn't help. It doesn't make me like more informed to know like every single, I'm not a scholar. So like, what am I doing?
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. But like, what was appealing about it? Was it just like I always ask this as if like I'm going to get, like a long, meaningful dissertation. But the same thing for me that I'm sure it was for most everyone else when they start getting into like the music they like as opposed to like the music their parents like or the music that they hear on the radio is it was fun or like something like that. Yeah. And I'm curious, is that just it? Was there something else that it was hitting? Especially like when I discovered hardcore, when I discovered Minor Threat and Black Flag, it was like a decade later. It's because of Nirvana. And it appealed to the anger I was feeling about living in the suburbs that I couldn't articulate and knowing that I wanted more or that things didn't feel right and they could articulate it. And I'm always like, oh, well, maybe there was some other thing for other people too. I'm just curious. I mean, you were there in the heyday or like slightly behind it, as you said. What was it for you?
It was really something that felt like you could participate in a substantial way, whereas the metal scene always, as much as when I was a little bit younger, like whatever 13 or 14, and that was my dream to be in a metal band. Like it was just a fantasy, it was like so far afield, and then all of a sudden like you get introduced to hardcore, and these are people like just like you, like that grew up in the same shitty suburbs or whatever, and they're actually playing shows. And then like I was in a band when I was like 14 with people from Gresham, which is like near where I grew up. And it was like, this is great. And we can just go play shows at Satyricon and people will come, and it's a real active scene, and it was that was the appeal, because it was the community and the ability to just do something. If you had an idea, you could just do it.
Yes, I love that. That I think that was the thing that got me hooked in the first place. When I started, I went to Pittsburgh. I went to University of Pittsburgh, and that's when I first started playing music in a band with my friend. And the whole scene was incredible because it really was. If you had an idea, musical, if you want to make like a short film, whatever, a video, comedy thing, whatever, there were people there. We would just do it. There was no like deliberating. There was like, okay, let's figure out how to do it and just go do it.
Totally. Yeah. And super exciting. Yeah.
The lesson that you could make manifest something that was inside you is
right. And even at that time, even the people that we revered, like Black Flag or whoever, like you would like see them on tour and you could talk to them, like, and they would give you advice about how to run your band and how to tour and stuff like that, Yeah.
When you said before that you had this like fantasy of being in a metal band, like how real was the fantasy? And I asked that because like when I have those kind of like creative fantasies, like I'm almost in my head, I can get myself into the state where I'm almost in the world, in that fantasy. And like, I can make myself feel emotions. Was it that strong at that moment?
I think I was probably too young to manifest anything like that. But it was definitely like a childhood sort of fantasy. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the first time that you wanted to make something like for real that wasn't like a school assignment or, a childhood drawing? Was that the first time?
I knew that from a very early age, I always knew that I wanted to play the drums, and I don't know why. So I started in school. Actually, I started before school band, started taking lessons, but then was in school band, as soon as that was possible, and all through high school and then to college. But I didn't really have any expectations other than wanting to learn the craft, and then like later on thinking, I could actually play playing in a band, as I said, didn't become real until punk rock. So, yeah, it was just interesting how that evolved.
Yeah. Was there a thing you wanted to do when you were growing up outside of music, or was it always like once you kind of like started figuring that out, that just became, all right, I'm off on this path?
I mean, that was the only thing that I really wanted to do. And then there was a lot of anxiety about what to do. It was like, what am I going to do to make money? I have no idea. But, it just like that I was able to go to school to study music was a really big impetus to like keep focused on that. And then, that like the funny thing is all of my more casual acquaintances have actually shaped my professional life. You know what I mean? Just playing in bands that weren't doing much of anything, just kind of like snowballed into other bands that became more active. And this was never a plan.
Okay.
Everything was so random and odd and like based on geography and all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Can you talk to me a bit about that? Because it really, just from a couple sentences, made me think of like that you were some kind of 1970s postmodern novel character. A lot of them are just like buffeted about by forces. And there's like that the novel, whatever, Gravity's Rainbow or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So I went to Oberlin College when I was 17, and the first summer that I was there, a friend of a friend introduced me to Mark Edwards from My Dad Is Dead. Do you know that group?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And they had a tour booked that summer, and they were in between drummers at that point. So I auditioned and did the tour with them. And that was on that tour also, it was a package tour with Bastro.
Uh-huh.
And they were using a drum machine at that point. And I got along with those guys really well. And they called me next January and they were like, you want to come and see if you can play with us? And I was like, fuck yeah. Are you kidding? And so that was the start of that. And that was 1988. And then, we did that for 3 years or so. And, that morphed into Gastrical Soul. And like through those guys, I met tons of people in Chicago because Clark was living in Chicago, and we all ended up moving there eventually. And that's when I met Doug McCombs and John Herndon. And, that was kind of the very early beginnings of Tortoise around that time.
Right. How conscious of this are you that this is like a pathway to something? Like you're playing in this band, you're like, oh, maybe I'll meet other people. Or were you just like, hey, this is fun in this moment. I'm not really paying attention. I'm not really planning ahead for whatever the next thing is.
There's no planning. It's just like play the best show that you can play, and And then
Interesting.
if something happens, if you happen to meet somebody, it's amazing. But yeah, no, definitely no planning involved.
Yeah, that's it. Are you like that in general? Okay, two things in your creative life and in your, I don't know how you actually pry apart your creative life from your everyday quotidian life, but
Yeah.
let's just pretend like that's possible. Are you like that otherwise?
My everyday life is a bit more structured, just in terms of getting things done. But I'm not like I don't have a 401k. I don't have any investments. That I will say that. But yeah, day to day, it's more structured, just in terms of the things that need to be dealt with. But yeah, like the whole career thing has just been like completely random. Like, and also with regard to my, production, engineering, mixing work, like the only time I ever approached an artist about working on something was when we played with Stereolab in, I think, 1993 or something. And I remember like talking to Tim after the show, and I was real sheepishly like, if you guys would ever consider coming to Chicago to record, I'd love to work with you. Work at this really great studio. And he was like, could just kind of see like the little light bulb go off. And I was like, okay, we may have something here.
So, okay, were you like that when you were a kid? Because I was definitely just kind of like floating around. And I don't think up until moving to Los Angeles, maybe, have I had to actually think about concrete steps to make a career. So
Yeah.
I lived most of my life just being like, oh, this is a thing I want to do. I guess I'll try to do that without
Yeah.
thinking about whether it was actually like, should I do that to like, there's like all these. I started paying attention this year to like how the Oscars work and how like the films campaign for the Oscars and how the publicists work, because I was really curious about kind of like the structures that are involved, because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not always the best film, and I was like trying to understand why. It's never,
Yeah, sure.
it's almost never the best film, whatever that.
Well,
even
it's
means.
like politics, isn't it?
Yes, 100%.
It's like it's never the best candidate. It's like there's always something in the background that's like controlling what happens. That we only have vague ideas about. So
Yeah.
yeah. Same thing with Oscars for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And in doing that, I started to like look at how certain actors and actresses pick roles specifically because they're trying to build a career in a certain way or go in a certain direction. And all that stuff always like seemed weird to me, just because I'm like, well, you never know if it's actually going to pan out. I've done plenty of things where I'm like, oh, well, this is going to be the thing. And then it's awful. And I'm like, I'm going to walk away from whatever this project is, or it was great, but then some executive said no, or whatever. Like, you can't control any of that stuff. So I'm curious, were you like this as a kid, where you were just kind of like whimsical? I don't know if that's really the word I want, but like, let's go with that as being approximate.
I think I just want the things that I was interested in. I just wanted to be the best possible version of that I could be, for instance, like drumming. So that was my first, and still is, my foremost expression, as a performer. And I didn't, like I said, no grand ambition other than to be as good as I could be, and that was it. And I just happened to meet a bunch of weird people along the way, and it's got lucky, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that ego, or is that something else? Well, I want to be the best.
I don't think, no, it's not ego, because how can you even say that about yourself? But I feel like I feel like I'm the most egoless person. Like, I really, honestly, none of that stuff matters to me whatsoever, other than like what I like about drumming and engineering and production is the technical aspects, I'm like, if I had been oriented a slightly different way, I probably would have been a mathematician, because like I love detail, and I love digging down into something as far as possible. and understanding the structure, like with all the minutia, like that is what really excites me. So that's to me, that's the opposite of ego. It's understanding. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Is it instinctual? I don't even know if that makes sense to you, but like when I'm like okay at keeping time because it's just not like, it's something I can do if it's like 4/4, 3/4, something that's like that I've been able to internalize.
Yeah.
But like, it's something I've had to work at. Is it something like from the jump that was like in your body, or is it something that you have had to work hard at and then eventually internalized?
I think that the meter has always been like pretty natural, and even like the 5s and 7s and things have been pretty natural, which luckily we get to explore a lot in this current project. It's kind of a running joke, like, oh, we don't have a song in 5 on the record yet. We got to write one. And sure enough, it shows up, but yeah, I feel like that whole aspect of whatever my, ability with as a musician, that timekeeping and meter has always been like, kind of first and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the same thing, like because the way that you describe it, it feels like the same thing in terms of the technical aspects. Like I'm okay with the technical aspects of engineering to just make sure that something gets recorded and it sounds audible, or it sounds whatever the auditory version of legible is, or like that part. Right. But everything else is it's so labored for me that my brain doesn't work like that. And I guess what I was trying to like get at was like, was this something that is just like how your brain is set up, or is it something you've had to like, and then you took to it because it seemed to like fit you as a human?
No, it's instinctive. Yeah, for sure. To want to, like I want to know the foundation of everything before I attempt to even dip a toe in it. You know what I mean? I was like, if I'm going to play the drums, I'm going to learn all the rudiments and I'm going to learn how to play them correctly. And then eventually I'll think about the drum kit. That's kind of where I come from.
Oh yeah. I love that. What did your parents do for a living? And did they want something for you specifically?
So my father was an engineer, and he worked at Boeing for most of his career. Yeah. And my mom was in like data processing. She worked at this supermarket chain we have here called Fred Meyer, which are like Boeing and Fred Meyer. Like you can't get more quintessentially Northwest than those two places. So yeah, that like, as I was kind of alluding to before, like the schism between my parents, my father wanted me to basically be a carbon copy of him. And my mom was like, do whatever the fuck you want and like take drum lessons and make noise and play music, which was amazing. It was really amazing. Yeah.
Is it just like, sorry, I'm like trying to figure out this carbon copy thing because I'm like, is it just, that's what the generation was, the 1950s, where it's like, all right, you do what your parents, the understanding we have of children is just that they're supposed to do whatever we say. Yeah. Or was there like something else there? Do you know what I mean? Does that make any sense at all?
I'm not sure. Like, I mean, this is all on a case by case basis, obviously, I feel like when I got to an age where I was able to make my own decisions, like that became a problem for my father. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
Up until then, it was great. But yeah, So yeah, he grew up, he was born in the 30s, so in the deep South, right?
Oh.
So his experience of life was completely different than anything I was exposed to, and he held on to that shit, unfortunately, and he's still alive and he still hangs on to it.
Oh, fun. But no, Oh yeah, because I know plenty of people who their parents never got over the fact or never figured out that the beings that they created had their own wants and desires. And so it's been this just lifelong battle between of wills. And then in every parent child that I know that's like this, you know, it obviously settles in different ways where sometimes, you know, the child then just becomes subservient to the parent and then it's weird.
Yeah. How old are you?
47.
Okay. So I'm about to be 56. So we're not that far off.
No.
It's interesting, you know, a lot of my friends have children who are now like teenagers. And I gotta say, it's pretty cool to see this younger generation of kids and like how, and also like that dynamic between the parents and the kids is like so much healthier than when we were young. I think.
Yeah. No. I think of your generation, even though it's only like 10-ish years between us.
Yeah.
I think it's enough time that I think of your generation as the ice storm generation, the generation where everyone's parents were getting divorced because they got married under the auspices of like the 1950s.
Totally.
Whatever that represents. Yeah. And then they start to realize, oh, we don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to my parents, I think they are a little more kind of like Dr. Spock with not the Star Trek, the baby person.
No, I know. Yeah.
But
good reference, by the way.
But you still even have in my generation a kind of they wanted stuff from me, and the fact that I didn't want that, you know, they just want me to be happy at the end of the day. But they also they did want grandchildren, I'm sure, and they wanted me to be devoutly Jewish and all the stuff that I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's as time is going on, I think things are becoming a little more lax where parents are starting to accept children as they are.
I think so. Yeah. And that's a net positive for everybody.
Yeah. But do you push against your dad, or do you just find the thing you like and then it just happens to be in opposition?
I think the latter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never try to confront him about anything, but yeah. It was clear that I had a path and nobody was going to stop me.
Did you have confidence in this, or were you just kind of had blinders on where you're just like, well, this is the thing I want to follow, and so I'm going to follow?
I had total confidence. And the thing that's also kind of weird is like with regard to like the audio engineering and whatnot, like I didn't know anything about it when I started, but I also had this odd sense of like, oh, I can do that. Like, this is a path that I will definitely be able to go down. I don't know where that kind of self-knowledge came from, but I'm like grateful that I had it.
Is it something that is just again, I'm trying to figure out this stuff because it is like slightly foreign to me in the sense of like, I have a lot of trouble figuring out like, all right, I know kind of what I want something to sound like in my head, but I don't know how to manifest that in the world. I don't know what I don't even know what noun to use. That's why but like, you fiddle with the EQ, you fiddle with the mid, the low, and I don't know how to move that or move anything else to get the desired thing I want. Was that something where you just like, oh, I kind of like know I know how to turn what's in my head into reality? Or was it a process?
Very much a process. Everything that I've ever worked on, like, kind of informs the next thing. And it does surprise me that I made some lucky discoveries and or mistakes when I was pretty young, but it was helpful and pointed me in different directions in terms of process. So yeah, it's really just like spending the time doing the work. That's the way to get there. And it's interesting now that like I can't imagine like if I was a young person now and had all of this technical and computorial stuff like at my fingertips, it would be amazing because I felt like, when I started, it was still like kind of like everything was so rudimentary. It was like all we had were tape machines, mixing consoles, and a little bit of outboard gear. That was it. Like we didn't even get a computer until like I think we had a two channel thing that we could edit on in 1994 or something, but we didn't have anything resembling Pro Tools until 97, I guess. So yeah, like just the fact that you can like make a record on your phone now is insane, right? Yeah.
When you first start recording, like, are you recording when you're 14, like whatever punk bands you're in? Are you like, hey, let's make an album?
Yeah, we did. My first band did 2 studio sessions. Notably, the second one was produced by Greg Sage. And then I was always interested in recording, but I didn't actually get into it until I was in college, and we had a program that kind of did everything from electronic music to recording to computer music.
Because I'm really curious, like when you first start doing the actual engineering, when you first start moving knobs or faders or whatever like that.
Yeah.
What were those early days like for you?
Oh, super exciting. Just like, this is where I need to be. Like right here in front of a console. Excellent. Like, yeah, it was great. It was really great. Even as being totally green, it was so fun. Yeah.
Do you remember what the process was of learning to make manifest whatever was in your head? Like,
no.
No.
No, it was just really doing it. That was it.
Yeah. It really feels like, okay. I think one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated is because I am such a cerebral person that and I will find any reason to just sit here in my brain rather than start to like, well, I got to take this cord out and I got to plug this cord into this thing and then do this thing and then move this knob and then sit there for an hour trying to like move this knob back and forth to figure out the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it seems like you are more like, this is a bad metaphor, but like a shark in water. Like you are just there, you are there, and this is your medium, and that you are just like kind of taking to it.
I mean, that's not a bad metaphor. Actually.
Yeah. And I don't mean to like, I'm not trying to like put these two things like cerebral, like you're not cerebral. Like you don't have like that thought in your, like, you're not like, oh, I want this to do this thing. And so I'm going to do this. But I just mean that like, it feels like it's more of a bodily thing. And I don't know if that's just because you start out as a drummer and it's that's a very bodily kind of instrument.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, I like that analogy. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Recently, my new mantra is don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Because occasionally I'll be presented with some options for something, and then I'll go down like this weird path, and I'll just, no. Just do the thing that you do. Don't overthink it. Like, it's kind of important to remember that every once in a while.
100%. It's like a lot of the time when you're getting new glasses and you're at the optometrist and they're like one or two, and they're almost indistinguishable.
Yeah.
They're just going between these two lenses that are almost indistinguishable. Most of these choices are like that, where it's just like, I'm just going to make this like it's instead of sitting here and obsessing over this thing that doesn't actually matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make a decision and move on.
Right. Except when you get your glasses. That's when you should overthink it. I'm always like, can you show me that one again? Oh.
Maybe maybe that one was a bad metaphor, but like, but it's more
not
just
necessarily.
Like, yeah. But like, I get what you're saying. And it really does feel like when I think about like I'm a bad drummer, but like when I think about when I have drummed before, that seems like one of those instruments that really does feel like an extension of your body in a way that like guitar or even keyboards aren't. Like it feels like there's some kind of discontinuity between your body and those things when you play them in a way that drums feel like corporeal.
I agree with that. Yeah. Because I think there's something about not having to engage your fingers like in that very specific way. And it's just like this thing is an extension of your arm, right? So that makes total sense. Yeah.
Once you start playing in punk bands, you're 14, right?
Yeah.
Is that it for you in terms of like are you still like, do you care about school? Did you ever care about school, I suppose?
I never cared that much. I was a good student when I wanted to be. I could like turn it off and on. I didn't really care one way or the other. But I got into Oberlin, so that was something. Yeah.
What was that choice about? Because I think about when I went to Pitt. I grew up in Reading in Pennsylvania. It's 4 hours away. It doesn't seem like a big deal. But like you went, halfway across the country to go to college.
Yeah.
What was that decision?
Well, I was just the point of music schools. So I applied to New England Conservatory, San Francisco Conservatory, and Northwestern. And Oberlin was like, for some reason, my mom was like, this is probably the best fit for you. Just in terms of like what the student body is like and the whole kind of overall thing there. And my best friend, Brian Smith, actually also got accepted there as a liberal arts, student. So we were kind of like, let's just do this. Like, we don't have to, we can be roommates and not have to end up with some random weirdo.
I just love that you just like, you had a skill and you were like, well, I just want to do this skill. And then you did that.
I was lucky. I was really lucky. Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. I think that you were good at the thing you wanted to do. And that because you said before where you were like, well, ego wasn't part of it. I think other people probably saw that, right? Someone who is good and is not just good, but like a creative person that isn't just like, you could have just been someone who was just like, yes, I'm a session player and I'm just like part of this band, but like, you're not, you add and, you are a part of these, whatever band you're in at that moment, right?
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think people see that. So I don't know if it was just luck as much as it is like you were a person who made other people better and contributed in a way and weren't an asshole about it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of you to put it that way. See, here's my non-ego talking. Like, I don't know. I just like, I'm focused on doing the work and like making the project better. That's all there is. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a philosophical point that you want to make? Hey, that is something I just deeply believe in, that we're doing this thing. Or is it just something like a thing? You're like, again, going back to the shark thing, the shark just moves and doesn't like.
No, I think it's more philosophical than just an instinct. Yeah. Yeah. But maybe there's a bit of that too, but yeah. Yeah. It's like a deeply held belief. Like people have deeply held beliefs about all kinds of things. And mine is about doing the best work possible in whatever the particular project is.
Do you know where that belief started to take hold in you?
It was always there from as far back as I can remember as a child. Yeah. Yeah. It was like what I was saying about playing the drums. Like I need to know how to do this correctly. I need to know everything about it before I can do it. And yeah, that's the philosophy. Despite
the problems with your dad, it does feel like that is something that might come out of engineering. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, well, as I've kind of gone down this path with him now that he's, he's got severe dementia and, he's probably not long for this world, but I've been able to like see more of him in myself, which is really interesting. Because for my whole adult life, I was like, I don't, like he and I are so different on so many levels. And like now that he's like in this kind of precarious state, I'm like starting to understand like some of the things about his personality that are like, oh, I guess I've got that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is like, it's kind of frightening, but also very liberating in a way.
Oh, interesting. How? In what way is it liberating?
Just like, just having that self-awareness, like, oh, there's this thing that is like intrinsic that is not just that, like, there's some heredity involved in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Where I'm just this like, there's no grand explanation. I'm not going to sit here in therapy for 10 years and finally we're going to figure. It's just like, well, my dad was kind of like this, and
Right.
I'm kind of like this now.
Yep. Yep. Totally. Yeah.
Is it in that kind of like finding that stuff out, that liberation? Does it open up anything for you, either existentially or creatively?
No, I guess I haven't dug in that deep yet with that. It's more of just like kind of getting a grip on it at the moment, but perhaps eventually.
I only ask that because, like, when I come to be at peace about certain things about myself, whether it's like learning about them in therapy or whatever, right? I realize that like I become a quote unquote, I don't even know how you might classify this, but better creative person, again in quotes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm just more, I don't even know. I just feel I settle more. And then I think in that settling, like the stuff, whether I'm writing a script or whatever, it just kind of flows out of me in a better way, in a
Yeah. Yeah.
less fraught. How's that? A less fraught way.
I like that. Let's go with less fraught. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm happy to hear you say that because that gives me some hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it seems, again, I've already talked to you for 45-ish minutes. So like, I don't know if this is you, period, but it doesn't seem like creative work is fraught for you. It feels like it is. Obviously, like there's always going to be frustrations if like something's not flowing correctly or whatever. Right. But like, it seems like you are pretty, it feels like that you are pretty like go with the flow about certain things.
I try to be, and I also try to figure out like, I think, after doing this for so long, like knowing when something isn't working and recognizing it quickly and
Yeah.
changing course, like that is to me like a gift for sure that, has only taken 40 years to acknowledge.
This is
But
interesting.
yeah,
When you
yeah,
say
yeah.
change course, like, do you have an example, that you are comfortable sharing, or is there just something where like you knew something wasn't working and you did something to change whatever the vibe, I don't even know what to classify here exactly, but like, I'm just curious, like what changed for you that made it better?
I'm trying to think of a specific example. I wonder if there's anything on our new record that would fall into that category. I don't really know. It's hard to think of something specific, but I mean, it is not totally uncommon for me to be working on a mix of
Mm.
something and get like pretty far into it and then just like have that gut feeling like this is not happening, and then just like take everything back down and start over. Like,
Yeah.
and the thing is like, yeah, like that's the egoless thing too. Like you have to be able to accept that like maybe you spent like 8 hours working on this thing, and if it's just it's not gonna cut it, you could just let it loose and start over. And that's liberating for sure.
Okay. Were you always like that? Because that seems like that is a lesson that people usually have to learn.
I think it's taken me a long time to like really get to accept that as a possibility. Yeah, I probably when I was in my 20s, I would not have done that. I would rarely have done that. So yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I've just maybe in the last couple years been able to accept that, like, hey, that script you wrote, you're going to have to rewrite it. It's,
Yeah.
whatever. There's a thing I've been working on for years now where I'm like, first it started out as like a half hour and then it just like doesn't make sense. And I had to eventually rewrite it as a hour long show.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me years because part of it wasn't just like figuring out why it would work as an hour and not as a half hour, but pushing against the emotions of just like, well, I did it. It's fine. I wrote it really well and it should just be done. It's like, no, it's not right.
Yeah, true. I mean, I've been listening to that. Do you know that Andrew Hickey podcast with the 500 songs about rock and roll? It's amazing. Yeah,
I'll check it out.
But it's really good. So he goes like super deep. Like some of the episodes are like 3.5 hours long. But like just to hear him talk about, for instance, one of the episodes was about basically the White Album, and he's talking about the precursors to that and Strawberry Fields Forever, like the whole process that song went through from idea inception to finished thing that we know now is so insane. Like it's kind of a case study in like how to make something, you know what I mean? Like, because his original idea was like kind of meh, whatever. It's something, but then he developed it, and then he got everybody else involved, and George Martin, and then like they did all these different takes of it, and the final version is like a mashup of two different takes. You probably know this, right? Because of the speed, because his voice is slowed down on the second half. So that like just how they arrived at that is fascinating. And yeah, I think for me, it's like a brilliant like peek into like process and creativity and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Last question then. Have you always been someone who's in control of their emotions? Because this seems to me like if you can get out of your own way when you're making something, right?
Yeah.
Then you can be like, yeah, this isn't working. I am going to like flatten all the faders and then start over again, even though it took 8 hours. As opposed to where forever I was just like, it's good. And I did it. I made it. I like it. It's fine. Even though I know it could be better.
I mean, I don't have a lot of emotional attachment to my work, I guess is what you're talking about. Well, that's like the zero out the console and start over. Yeah. Like, I mean, I like when something's like well and truly done, like, sure, there's an emotional attachment to that because if you can see other people react to it, it's like, that's really affirming. But in the most like kind of, trying to push yourself away from it. Like, that's just doing the work, not being emotional about it, just trying to make it perfect. Yes.
Yeah. So you don't kind of like let whatever you're feeling, where like, again, where I'm saying like, there was a long time in my life where I'm just like, hey, it's good enough. And I knew it could be better, but I was like, I got other stuff to do.
I mean, it would be hard for me to say it's good enough, honestly. I guess I'm just that person.
Yeah. I love that. No, I love that.
I've got to get back in there and burnish that little corner until it's perfect, even though nobody else will notice it.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I've become that person. So I get it. But there was like, yes. But there was a long time where I was just like, I guess I don't have to search for the perfect punchline for this thing.
Right.
I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Where now I'll sit there for an hour, like going through options in my brain.
Don't overthink it.
Well, now, yes, maybe that's
there's the dichotomy. It's like finding the perfection and overthinking it. How do we square that circle? I don't know.
It's just a contradiction that you have to live with. And maybe that's really it. You have to live within the contradiction in order to make something worthwhile.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a nice place to end. John, thank you so much for joining
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Truly a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye, oh, bye.